Welcome back to SiteTech Intermountain Siteworks instructional videos. Today we're going to simulate a infill design of this parking lot. We're going to go and shoot all the lips of curb and concrete and kind of create a new surface for us to come in and grade this. So we'll start off by starting a new work order for this. So I'll come up to my hamburger menu. Under my project setup tab, change project, I've got this new work order called parking lot started. Hit accept on that, get that fired up. And then I need to configure a new line string to start this on. So I'll go into my roller stuck in the mud icon here, switch over to a new line. I'm going to make sure that's a brake line because I want that surface data to come in. And I'm just going to call this toe of curb or TOC. Hit accept. Now I'm ready to start measuring that. So I'm going to square myself up over my bullseye here. Start right here on my concrete and start measuring this in. So we want to hit every so often along this concrete edge. Anywhere we have any grade changes, especially along the curb line, if we've got grade breaks or grade changes, we want to make sure that we shoot those in so that our surface comes in as accurate as possible. This concrete right here is pretty flat, pretty smooth, consistent, so I'll go a pretty long distance. Get all the way down to where it meets up to this curb line. I'm just going to continue measuring this same line out into my curb. Then I'm going to come up to this corner, make sure I get one at the start of my arc, one in the middle of my arc, maybe another one so it makes a nice good circle for us, and then back into my straight section, and then down here to my corner. Now you'll notice I have a 6-inch rise here to my sidewalk. I'm actually going to stop measuring this current line, menu measure. I'm going to turn on a setting that gets turned off anytime we create a new work order. It's an elevation offset. To turn it back on, I'll hit my menu, come down to settings. Under settings, we've got two measure settings, but we've got measure mode and then another one that just says measure. The second option from the bottom, this measurement offset, is disabled. We just need to enable that, hit accept. And then I'm going to come back into my roller stuck in the mud icon. And you'll notice I have a vertical offset option in here now. So I'm going to do a minus 6 inches. So I'll do a negative 0.5 because I've got a 6-inch show here. And I'm going to hit accept on this new line. And I'm actually going to measure on the top of the concrete up here, but it's going to move my elevation 6 inches lower so it matches my curb line. So I'm going to start this line string here, measure all the way across. Measure all the way across to this other curb where I want it to meet up again. Take another shot just here. And I'm going to stop measuring that line. Again, menu, measure. I'm going to come back into my roller stuck in the mud icon. And I want to set that vertical offset back to 0 so that when I'm measuring this curb line, it doesn't add an extra 6 inches to it that I don't want. So set that back to 0. I'm going to step down to my lip of curb. I'm going to go ahead and start measuring all this in. Okay, so now that I'm back to where I started, I don't want to take another shot that would overlap this one. That would be two different elevations potentially. So I finished up this outer edge. I'm just going to stop measuring this line. Menu measure. I'm going to leave it as a break line, and I'm going to immediately jump into these islands and start measuring these in. So I'm just going to start from this inside edge, and I'm going to start a new break line again. We can have it named the same thing, that toe of concrete, toe of curb. Make sure it's a break line, and I'm going to start measuring this in. These straighter sections, as long as they don't have a bigger grade break, we can jump pretty far. But these rounded edges, we want to be really precise about getting a couple of shots through the radius so that it comes in nice. And back into the straight section. I can stretch out these measurements a little bit more. And then I'm going to take one right as my arc starts. Maybe one in the middle of my arc. Maybe up to my joint. Middle of my arc again. And then back down to my straightaway. Now I don't want to overlap these 2 points. So I'm going to use this little icon on this gray taskbar. It's the third item from the bottom, the second square up. It's got 3 solid lines and a dotted line across the top. And that's going to close out from where I finished to where I started. So now I have a solid loop. So now I'm going to go around and apply that same thing and get the rest of these islands in. So in a lot of cases in the real world, we'll have drain boxes, grade breaks that need to happen and cross our parking lots. In this case, we just have a big giant sheet drain that's going down to our catch curb. But we're going to simulate on a job site that would have a drain box. We're going to utilize these stakes here as our drain box and flow from these spill curbs in the island. So I'm going to shoot a new break line from the concrete to my drain box back up to my concrete. And if we had multiple corners that needed to flow into this drain box, we could do the same thing by tying break lines to those corners of that drain box. So So we finished up using brake lines to measure in our outer edge on our concrete where it's going to be spilling from. We've shot all of our islands in to make sure that those get calculated in. We've simulated having a drain box in the center of our job site where we needed to bring brake lines, grade brakes, to that certain position. Now all that's left is we just need to surface this as a new design and create a surface out of it. So I'm going to go menu measure again to stop measuring this current line. And then I'm going to come back to my menu and go down to the Data Management tab. Under Data Management, I have an item called Surface as Design. In here, I can give it a new design name, so I'm going to call this my parking lot version 1, in case I need to make changes in the future. This drop down for do not include line work, I'm going to make sure I select include measured line work and hit accept. And then I'm going to use outermost points in this case and hit accept. So I've saved that as a design. It's just not quite yet loaded on the screen. So I'll go back into the menu, up to Project Setup, under Change Project, and now under the Design tab I have a new parking lot version 1 that I just created. Hit accept and get that loaded up. And now I can go around and check my cut fills. So I can select this drop down menu in the bottom corner and change that to a cut fill light bar. And now my data collector will beep at me like a laser will. Slow beep, fast beep, and a solid tone for 0. The other thing to view is the 3D surface view. I'm going to hit this black icon in the bottom right hand corner and flop that out to the main screen. And you can see those digital string lines and how they triangulated on our job site. If I hit this globe icon on the side, I can rotate this in a 3-dimensional view and view how my water is going to be draining across my entire parking lot. So I've gone around my job site and I've checked a couple of grades to understand my material. Now this data that we've created can be exported to our machine utilizing a thumb drive. So when I have the design loaded on my data collector, I can plug my thumb drive into the bottom here. On this TSC7, it's in the bottom left here. And then I'm going to go Menu and go down to that same Data Management tab where we did Surface as Design. There's another item in there that says Export to Machine. So I'll do Export Data for Machine. I'm going to change the export data type to Design. That way it brings over the line work and the surface data. And then it's all down to what machine control device am I going to. Most things are Earthworks now, but if we still run GCS 900, the button push, that's a CB450 460 export. So I'll switch to Earthworks. It's got my active design, that parking lot version 1. As long as my thumb drive is plugged in, I can hit accept, and it's going to write that data right to my thumb drive. So it saved the data to my thumb drive. I'm just going to hit OK on this, pull my thumb drive out. This is ready to go in the machine and we're ready to start grading.